How do I get more leads?
How do I stand out in my market?
Is it unprofessional to talk about my kids on Instagram?
Should I have one account or two?
Do I really need a personal brand as a real estate agent?
We are the Modern Agent Marketing Girls. We are two agents turned marketing experts who believe you can become the go-to real estate girl in your market, all because you are you. I'm Chelsea Peterson, founder and CEO of Modern Agent Social Club.
And I'm Kayla Fox, Modern Agent's content creator. Let us be your guide as we talk about what it means to market your real estate business the modern way.
So refill your favorite beverage, open your notes app, and get ready to build a business and a brand you're obsessed with. Let's go. Tori, welcome to the Marketing Girl podcast.
Hi, how are you? I'm so excited. It's so funny with you starting this new podcast name. I was waiting for you to say Marketing Bar.
The official title is Modern Agent Marketing Girls because it's for female real estate agents, but I need to shorten it because it's just marketing is a long word. Modern agent is long.
I love it. Hi, I am so excited to be here.
I have so much I want to talk to you about, but I have to start with how I found you and how powerful this is. I found you randomly through the Explore page and I clicked on your account, saw your bio, which says branding that feels like a fancy drink in a hotel room, watching The Office with no kids. And I was like, follow. Instantly. What's funny about that is I don't even watch The Office really, but I can just envision myself in that exact space. And I thought to myself, that's exactly what I want my branding to feel like. And not much long later, we worked together on branding and all of the things. And I guess if you want to just start by telling me a 60-second version of who Tori is, and then we'll dive into all the branding things.
Yeah. Oh gosh, 60 seconds. So I'm a mom of two. My previous life, I was in corporate America as a designer for specialty food packaging and creative direction and marketing on that side. And mid-COVID, mid-maternity leave, I was let go like a lot of other designers or people in corporate America. So I was let go and was like, what do I do? Do I start a business or do I go back and look for jobs? And I was like, I can't do that. I can't go back to a cubicle. I want to be home with my kids. I want to, try this out. And here we are later, almost 4 years later with this business that has now brought my husband home. We homeschool our kids. And it's massive. And it's a huge part of why I believe so strongly in personal branding, because that's what I leaned into and was the huge driver for growing so quickly. And when I say growing too, I do not mean 1 million followers. I literally have probably a small amount of followers compared to a lot of people, but they're so aligned, it doesn't matter. And I think that's what a lot of people focus on in the beginning is just numbers and vanity metrics. And really the connection is what happens through your personal brand. That's the magic. That's the secret sauce.
This is so perfect because I love that you said the follower number doesn't matter because they're so aligned. And like you said, that happened through personal branding. So can you just walk me through what was your first step when you quit your other job, you left or got laid off and you decided to, I'm going to do this. What was your first step in the personal branding direction? What did you do?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have anything, right? I had no even idea. The Instagram world had this whole business side to it. So, just really diving in head first and asking my husband to take a headshot of me for my website. I had one photo of me. Luckily I am a brand and web designer, so I built my own website and did all that at the beginning, but I knew just a part of me, my own personality in general is I don't want to be like anyone else. I want to stand out on my own. And so I think it was just well, this is obviously what we're all striving for because we're all saying the same services. We're all, especially your audience being realtors, we're all selling houses. We're all doing the same thing. And it's just, what is that piece of you that makes someone want to work with you over the agent next door or the agent they met at the grocery store? That we've all experienced that, you just met someone and it felt like a great connection. The energy felt good. And, so I just knew going forward, all these moms who I'm working with who are talking about the same services, whether they were sleep consultants or nutritionists or anyone, how can we make people stand out and not only stand out to where they're connecting with their ideal clients, but also feel like more sustainable in their business. Like when you are stepping into your business as yourself, it is like so much easier to do things. It's so much easier to make content because it's just authentic. It's you. It's like top of mind. You're not trying too hard. The energy isn't forced. So when I realized I was kind of leaning into that just naturally as my personality, it clicked that that's what people need. So yeah, that's just was the beginning. And then it became a whole lot of services, which I can talk about too. Adapting services to what people need and just like listening to people in your audience. When your audience is aligned, they're going to tell you, they're going to ask the questions over and over. And you're like, oh, this should probably be a part of my service, or this should probably be content that I talk about when everyone says, oh, I'm a Diet Coke at 2 p.m. as well. That just listening is a key part of discovering who, your people are and you are as a personal brand. Because the personal brand really is what parts of you and what part of them overlap. And so it's not like you have to show your whole life, and it's not like you have to connect with every part of their life. It's just like, what are those few things that are the same girl, same for both of you? So
that make you say like, oh my God, me too.
Yes, exactly.
Like I need to click follow because this is my, like, even if the other funny thing about this is I wasn't looking for a brand and web designer. I wasn't like searching keywords to find a brand and web designer. I just like stumbled upon you. And then I thought to myself, I don't really care what she's selling, but I need to connect with this person. And I think that's, like you said, the power of that personal branding. And with real estate agents, the like almost the hardest part I think is it's they want to stand out because they want to be the one. They want to be like the go-to agent for their sphere, for their community. But at the same time, it's almost like the industry like pushes you to blend in. Like, we're going to do these marketing tactics. We're going to send these postcards. We're going to use our brokerage colors in our branding. We're going to take these same headshots. And so it's an industry where you're an entrepreneur, but because you're real estate agents, a lot of people tend to look the same, and they're afraid to be the one that maybe steps out and like shows more of themselves because they're afraid they're not going to look professional then. But when they're looking professional, they're just blending in. So like, what would be your advice to someone to just kind of, like you mentioned your Diet Coke, like that's a connection point. That's a connection piece. We kind of teach it as, we say brand menu, just like what's on your brand menu that you can bring in from your real life and talk about on repeat. Like, how would you advise someone to kind of like understand first and foremost that having a personality isn't unprofessional, but how the power of sharing those little tiny pieces creates this extremely loyal following like you've built. And it, again, doesn't really matter about the other people, but people are so afraid of that, right? They're like, well, what if someone doesn't hire me because of this? Because they don't align with the fact that I'm a mom, you know?
Being a realtor as a mom, if that's a part of your brand messaging, if it's like, for me, my messaging is between the margins or in the margins of motherhood. And so a lot of my work is done between homeschooling or between soccer practice. And so if your job of connecting with your clients or doing your job is also in between the margins, then maybe motherhood is a part of your messaging. But I think as someone who might have like, I wouldn't say necessarily like limitations, but feel like they're a part of maybe a brokerage where you have to do certain things or have to follow certain rules, the personal brand on social media, your messaging, I mean, even down to your like the gifts that happen after someone buys a house, like there's so many points that you can connect with people that are outside of this like boring postcard that goes into everyone's mailbox. And that's why social media is so great for people who have those limitations, because you don't have to worry about any of that. You can, I mean, literally Diet Coke as an example, whatever your drink of choice is, can every piece of content have it in it? Can every time you talk about being like at home and cozy and warm, is it cookies in the oven? Or what is that like thing that you have? Is it a candle? Is it like like I connected with my bookkeeper because she taught me how to cut my candle wicks. Like how wild is that? Nothing to do with bookkeeping at all. But every morning on her stories, she like cuts her candle wick and relights it and talks about what local candle she's burning today. And it was just like, I don't, again, like you said, I don't know what you're selling, but I want to be like in your world. That's kind of like the vibe we're going for. So it's already a part of your world. If you're listening to this, like it is already ingrained in your life. You're doing it. It's just making it like that, a part of that menu. And you're not going to put everything on the menu. You're going to have, you know, when you go to what is it? The Cheesecake Factory, everyone jokes like this is like way too long of a menu. Like we want to have that really elevated restaurant menu. That's like, oh, we have like 6 signature dishes and we do them really well. And so what are those for you? And they don't have to be like wild and out there because we're all basic girls. Like we are all, you know, like Taylor Swift connects with her people because she's a cat lady and she like sits at home and is a homebody, and it's like nothing wild and extreme. We aren't relating to her because we all understand how it is to be this like billionaire pop star. We're relating to her because she's also a cat lady who also likes to just do things at home in her sweats and just be a girl's girl and make friendship bracelets. So don't try so hard to like fit, you know, outlandish things. If it feels like it's trying too hard to fit on your brand menu, it's probably not supposed to be on your brand menu. And I could just continue on this soapbox about fitting things in, but in a nutshell, it's already in front of you.
I love that you said that it doesn't have to be outlandish or wild, because I think people are almost afraid to just share the normal, thinking like, well, why would someone care about that? But it's always the connection is going to happen before that conversion. And especially in an industry, you know, web design it's an expensive investment. Buying a house is a big investment. So it's not like they're going to see a real estate graphic and think, I'm going to hire you today. It's going to be through that relationship building, that those connection points, that familiarity that makes you feel comfortable. And then that, you know, essentially is building trust. But can you talk to me about how, so I always say real estate agents, they're living like the perfect life to document, right? As their industry. Like we all can document what we're doing behind the scenes, but they're like out and about in their communities and showing homes and in neighborhoods. And it's not glamorous like selling Sunset probably 95% of the time. I think one of the things that is so attractive about going, like watching your stories and watching the way you show up online is that everything is very beautiful and it looks very cozy and it has a vibe. And how do you help, or how would you advise someone to get their content to have more of a vibe, to look better, to almost like it's such an attraction to people when things are aesthetically pleasing, but we aren't walking around living these like aesthetically pleasing lives. So how would you, if you were a real estate agent, like what would be like your go-tos when you are showing a house, when you're meeting a client, you're at the local coffee shop, like what tips do you have to like capture those moments that feel on brand, that feel, you know, part of your business and life, but make it a vibe?
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is lighting, which we all know that. We've worked with photographers who have shot the homes that we're listing. Lighting is a huge thing. And we talk about like the art of noticing and noticing these things. And it is a practice. And so I am not going to advise you to walk into a home today and put pressure on yourself to like find the perfect lighting and make content. I would advise you to walk in and just practice noticing, release that pressure of like, this has to be content right now. I'm just training my brain and my eyes to like find the sparkly light coming through the window, or where can I like put some candlelight, or where do these patio lights like really make this backyard pop, or like how can we create this vibe without the pressure at first of it being content? But it also is just being real and genuine to your personality. We talked about like standing out as like for the mom thing, for example. I'm sure you guys get like a ton of reels about realtors all day long, but one popped up randomly the other day, and I thought of you, and it was this realtor who was showing this house, and she was like, I can't wait to show you all the places I can hide in this house. And it was so funny. It was just like behind curtains. It was like all these things. So for example, the mom. So say you're a realtor and a mom, being a mom is a huge part of your brand. Like, could you walk into a house and be like, I cannot wait to show you all the places that you can stash toys to where your home is not cluttered? Or I can't wait to show you all the things, just maybe something that's more like motherhood related or kid related, or you're really talking to the mom and who doesn't want clutter. So like, how can we address that in our like showing to be funny as our content, and it can still be vibey? Maybe it's practicing, how do we make this house a vibe even though we're going to have I don't know, diapers everywhere and Hot Wheels all over the place, and how can we do that? So that's just one random thing that popped in my head. But creating a vibe in general starts with noticing that, and I'm realizing the more I talk about it that it really is a practice. It's not just like we're all born with it. My husband does not have it. He's starting to notice things. Like he said something the other day. He was like, oh, that light looks really nice coming into our dining room. And I was like, look at you. And he's like, I just am like soaking it up. I'm learning. And so it is a learned thing that we can all do. One workshop that I'm not an affiliate for this or anything, but my friend and business coach is Xanthi Appleyard. We can put her in the show notes. She has a workshop that is Vibes with Value, and it literally walks you through video settings, photo settings, how to capture things. And I have learned a lot of my stuff from her as well. So I highly recommend that if you're just someone who's like, I need someone to literally just show me like camera settings and how to shoot something. Highly, highly recommend something like that. And maybe you have something like that.
I took that too. It's so good. And because if you're like I love how you say it is a practice, because I think some people feel like, well, I'm not like that. I'm not a photographer. I'm not like a visual person. And it's hard for them. But even myself, like through you and then through Xanthi and taking that class or that workshop, I feel like I'm getting better at it. And it's like a year from now, I'll probably be even better at it. It's just like committing to doing it consistently.
Yeah, exactly. And I think she talks in there too a lot about like even the zooming in and zooming out and how that makes your people feel vibe wise. Like it can be even in your own home, if you're trying to, do a good morning or just like show parts of your life. A lot of times the zoomed in, just think about it even psychologically, zoomed in feels more intimate. And so you're kind of bringing them in on an intimate moment and you don't have to show. Like I work in the playroom. And so when I make content, I am not capturing all of the stuffed animals that are stuffed in this corner right here. I am capturing this little corner, which I call it my content corner. So I have my little corner with my mirror and my pretty lamp and my plant. And that is my content corner. So creating these spaces too in your own home where, okay, I've noticed the light is really beautiful right here. How can I make this maybe a part of my like content corner? An example of this too is like I follow a lot of bookstagrammers or book talk and also like mocktail people. Think of the people that you are like consistently following. If they pop up on your feed, book talk or a mocktail creator, it is always literally like them talking in front of a bookshelf or them creating a mocktail on this like cutting board or their counter. And they never like, you don't know what their bathroom looks like. You don't have to show all of these parts of your life that maybe don't feel on brand to you right now, or maybe there are Hot Wheels everywhere. They are creating their like little content corners, and that's the like safe space, right? For their like audience. They know what to expect when they come there. They're there for a reason. And that is just a part of the brand at that point.
I think you do this too really well with that is it's just consistency. So someone's going to see your coffee with your book that's zoomed in on your bed that your husband doesn't like,
yes,
or they're going to see, they're going to see your office corner. And like, how do you pick one? Like, how do you pick a thing? Like I'm even right now, cause we moved last year and I'm like, I need like new corners. I need new little spaces. Like, are you just kind of thinking I'm going to grab an accessory and a good lighting space and make it look aesthetically pleasing behind me? And that's going to be my go-to capture spot.
Yeah, you totally can. And that's what I've started doing too, is I I got out of my head thinking I have to give this like massive variety of content on my stories. And I realized the psych behind audiences on social media is they don't like jump scares. They don't want to be surprised when they come to, like, you are a comfort for them. And like either inspiration or motivation based on the value that you're bringing. But you as like a person showing every single part of your life, it's exhausting for us as people who are creating content, but they also really don't want that. Like they really want to see, okay, I see the book and your mineral mocktail on your bed as I do almost every day. What's the book you're reading? Are you almost through it? Is it a 1-star or a 5-star? Like I am there for the value deeper beyond like what the photo actually is. And the photo just like is the vessel that delivers it. The vibes are good too, but we have just like, once we notice, again, the light is a huge thing. That's always a driver for me. And so I knew exactly where to put my mirror in my office based on the lighting. I put it right next to the natural light window. So I knew if I like took selfies in it or anything, the lighting was going to be good. And then I just created that little corner. I tried to keep it simple. I found one beautiful lamp that I liked. I didn't feel like I needed to go on this like Amazon influencer shopping spree. It was like, what do I have that feels on brand? We all have things we naturally gravitate towards, like color wise or even aesthetic. So what are those things? So if naturally I'm more of a clean, minimal person, that's a little cozy, I have my lamp, my plant, and then of course, every time I capture my desk, it's probably going to have a Diet Coke on it. So it's like just weaving them together without it just becoming so complex. Like it's really just, go simpler. Simpler is better.
Simple is better. That's a good tip. How do you go from sharing these on-brand pieces of your life to it turning into a client or turning into someone that signs up for your Vibe? Like, how does that transition happen? Where are you focusing on kind of, because we can post like all these beautiful things and share behind the scenes of our lives, but where does the like transition happen from like follower who's obsessed to tell me what I can buy from you?
Yeah, I think the same common thread between my work and you guys as realtors is we play the long game and we are a higher ticket price. So we are not like the $17 Instagram ad guide that people are swiping yes on without thinking about it. They play the long game in deciding who they're going to go with. There's a lot of brand and web designers out there too, so I know that like competition is heavy. I think for me, again, I was not ever focused on the follower count. I will always say forever and ever, I'm a voice memo girly. So if you slide in to my DMs at any point, I will probably be sending you a voice message back. So I focus so much more on the connection and providing value. So even posting wise, I don't post every day. I barely post every week. But when I do post, it's going to hit hard. And so the quality over what I'm giving versus the quantity, and then focusing on deepening the relationship for the people that are there versus growing more people, I think that's the sustainability, that's the longevity in our business. And that's honestly, most of my people are word of mouth at this point because just the client experience that happens afterwards. When I say I want it to feel like you have a bougie hotel with a drink, the office on with no kids, I want it to feel that way. I want it to feel like you're taken care of. I want it to feel like you have let someone take the kids for a week. Like I want it to feel like such a relief. And also that you're like treating yourself because you are. And people think that about their homes too. Like people want to buy their dream home. People want to buy a place that they don't regret at the end. People don't want to buy a place that they feel like they have like so much work to do now. Like they want to know that they are taken care of from you as an agent. They want to know that they can call on you for anything, that you have their back. So like the relationships for both of our audiences are the most important thing that can happen.
You said two key words. You said relief and treating yourself. And I think that is such a big part of branding, obviously for you, but even with a real estate agent, how can they kind of take their brand menu? So like the things that they're going to select to weave in, whether it's motherhood, Diet Coke, a beverage, but then kind of tie it into that, like that, those feelings that they want their ideal client to feel. Like, how can they tie those two together? Because almost when I think about your brand and I think of like you're working in the margins of motherhood, and then I think about like having you take my website away and it's like, it is like this treat. Like I don't have to think about it. Like it's going to come back beautiful and delivered. And that's like a great keyword. Like, did you kind of think like ideal client wise, what do they want to feel? What do these other moms that I may be working with like need to feel when I work with them that I can provide that feeling basically? Like how would you recommend figuring that out as a real estate agent? Like how do I figure out what my ideal client's thinking? How do I figure out what words I need to hear from me?
Yeah, it literally was that question. Like, how do I want people to feel when they work with me, like before, during, and after? And I do want it to be a breath of fresh air, relief, taken care of, treating yourself. And it's always an evolution figuring out your ideal client, because the more you connect with your audience, the more information and data that you have. And they're going to give you keywords. Like if you're creating content, please look in your DMs, because your content is living there. You can literally copy and paste how they verbalize things, and it's going to connect so much harder with people who are just maybe deciding if they want to work with you. But I like to write out like almost minute by minute seems excessive, but maybe even hour by hour. Like, what does their day look like? And how can I bring, like, I know that they are going to need relief. I know my ideal audience does not want to like micromanage and be a part of the design process. They literally like, I just need someone to take it, please, and give it back to me perfect. And so I know, thinking about how to connect with them, what are other parts of their day that they feel that way too? Mine as moms, they are the witching hour at 4 p.m. when it's not dinner time, but it's after nap time. Like they need a relief from that moment. Maybe that's a connection point that I talk about, the witching hour, or needing a Diet Coke break at that point, because we need to treat ourselves and we need relief. So it's like, what are these connecting points throughout the life that they're living right now, and what you want to give them? And those then become those content narrating moments where you can connect with these people. Again, it's like always right in front of us, and we feel like it's maybe this like massive problem that has to be solved, but we're all like living this like same life, right? We're all living the same moments that we just need to figure out what are those few that we start to connect on. And then how do you weave that in? Like for me, like I said, with the relief at 4 p.m. because my kids are driving me crazy and it's not time to like pop chicken nuggets in the oven, I'm going to take my little mental break moment with my Diet Coke and have a treat yourself moment. So.
With all of these treat yourself moments too, you're really romanticizing your life. And I've heard you talk about this before. So I took a group coaching program with Tori called You're a Vibe, and it walks you through this. But can you tell the people listening a little bit about that and how you... like how that really helped pull out like the things that I'm doing every day anyways, but I might need some help figuring out like, how do I want to visualize that? How do I want to pull this into my content? How do I want to pull this into who that ideal client is? Like, what things are you recommending like when it comes to romanticizing your life? And that's almost where that brand menu pops in. It's like, I'm going to take the time to have my Diet Coke moment. I'm going to take the time to make a really beautiful meal. I'm going to take the time to all these, whatever it is. And that becomes your life that you're living, which now is more fun. It's more fun to document. It's more fun to connect with people over because you're sharing it behind the scenes. But it's like, how do you get there? Like if you're feeling very like blah about your life, maybe you're in a rut, real estate, you had a really hard year. Like, how do you get back into that feeling of making your life fun and exciting without spending money? Like, it doesn't have to be even like a money thing, like you said about your corner, you don't have to spend a bunch of money to do this. Like, how would you get on the path to like, I love my life right now. Like this is fun to market my business and show up every day.
I love this because You're a Vibe started because I was doing like some journaling. I was attempting journaling. And I had this prompt, which was like, what is a day in your life as your like higher self? And so I wrote down this whole page of what my higher self looked like. And I looked back at it and I was like shocked that I was doing not one thing on this list. Like I wasn't drinking enough water. I wasn't reading versus watching TV. I wasn't getting, consistent workouts. Like it just I wasn't cooking my nourishing meals. And so it became like this moment, this light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, I've got to change my life if I'm going to be successful in creating content and running this business and doing all these massive things that I had on my to-do list, I had to take care of myself first. And that's where I decided like lifestyle comes before content. And so creating these habits around you just journeying to be your higher self is where a lot of that can come from. And so I would start by writing out, like, what does my higher self do in just a normal day? And even down to like, how much money do you make? And what are you wearing? What supplements are you taking? What are you reading? What car do you drive? Like, it doesn't always have to be like financially relatable. But even just down to, you know, what groceries do you buy and where do you shop for groceries, and just things that might be really important to you. So I realized then, like, I want to be reading, but I'm not taking the time to do that. I want to be cooking really nourishing meals, but again, I'm like prioritizing other things, or just not living the way I want to be living. And so that is what sparked like so many light bulbs. I turned those into, well, maybe these could be personal brand content themes, like cooking nourishing meals. Like I don't think I'm a, you know, stream my workout or post about what my workout is every day, but I can post that I made myself a healthy breakfast and it looked really balanced and good, and my nutritionist would be proud of me. But I'm an eldest daughter, by the way, so I like to get daddy's approval for everything. But and I call everyone I work with daddy usually, because I'm like, I'm really just looking for you to tell me I did a good job. But the moments like the reading. So now you have noticed that as, okay, I know Tori's going to either post her Kindle and her coffee or her book and her mineral mocktail at night, because I've made it a habit to now make reading a part of my everyday. And even the nourishing meal things, I have hyper fixated on like peaches and cottage cheese for a while now. So I like consistently post about that. But that also put guidelines up for me too. Like, that doesn't mean I'm going to post food anytime I eat. Like, I'm not a food blogger, but if it feels like I did a really good job, like making myself this really nourishing meal and it looks pretty, I'm going to document that and share that. And so it just also gave me like parameters to what do I share and what do I not share, if that makes sense.
Yes. What I love so much about this is I think at some point, and I don't know when it happened, but I feel like there was this expectation that if you shared your personal life or your personality, that it was about sharing like the messy, like, you know, like, oh, well, if it's not like a polished graphic, then it's like a messy thing. And I always try to say and reiterate, I don't know where that came from. Maybe like the no filter thing, when people decided to go on their stories without makeup, and then it became this whole thing. I think people still sometimes equate showing your personality, showing your life to like the unprofessional or the messy or the, you know, my kitchen's a mess. And I'm like, I don't want to show my messy kitchen because I don't want to look at it. Like, yes, that could be relatable, but I think this is more about like what the name of your group coaching program is, You're a Vibe. It's making your life a vibe, and then you're excited to show up for it. You're excited to document it. It's these little moments that are going to be repetitive because they're part of your life. You're doing habits. Them, and that's then connecting.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, why are we feeling shame around wanting the candlelit dinners? Like, I light candles every night for my kids at dinner. And I fully believe this is a genetic thing. I have a mother and a stepmother, and my stepmother buys beautiful taper candles, but will never light them. Like, all of her candles are unlit in her house. And I have a half sister, and she does not light candles. Like, she has the beautiful taper candles at dinner, but does not light them. Me, I light every single candle. I don't care how beautiful it is. I light it because the whole point is to enjoy it. To me, there's no right or wrong here. But my kids now will ask, like, are you going to light the candles, or can I light the candles? Can I blow out the candles? But my mother also lit candles, but I'm creating these habits for me and for my family because I like it. And I don't think there's any shame in wanting to have your spindrift in a wine glass, or wanting to light the candles, or wanting to have your home be tidy. Like, just because it's relatable doesn't mean that that's your brand personality. And I feel like I do a mix, because my whole the point of me being online is to show that we can also exist and create content even if there is a mess, even if that is a part of your life. I want you to I would rather you create and do and learn through it and start to feel comfortable than to stress and not ever show up. And so I think there's a balance there, but it's what your audience also relates to. I would think, like, especially for you, your people and your brand, people want to see the aesthetically pleasing. They want to see the cute. They want to see the pretty wine glasses and the pretty dinners and the book clubs and all of that. And that's okay because that's your personality. Like, I don't think you have to show up messy just because that feels relatable. I talk about your brand purpose as well in your vibe and we figure out what that is. And some brands are meant to be inspiring and some brands are meant to be the big sis, and maybe they show up without makeup on. Danielle Waller is one of my examples. I love her. She is like a 20-something. She's like dating. She shows up like so imperfectly. She talks about her acne, like all these things. And her whole brand purpose is to be this like big sis energy that I'm going to show up and show you how to do it, but I'm also going to come on your level, versus some brands are meant to be aspiring and motivating. And that when we show that messy kind of it starts to blur that line with our purpose. So it's figuring out maybe what that is and what your audience will relate to.
That's a really good explanation of it. And I think too, with real estate agents wanting to be professional and that not necessarily equating to just like real estate graphics in a business suit, but like when you're showing up in the way that you're describing, it is professional looking. It just feels like cozy, warm, and like it's a friend versus like it's someone trying to sell me something in a blazer or a suit. And I think that's what makes it so approachable. And so how your audience is so loyal, and you have these people who, it doesn't matter that you have 30,000 followers or 100,000 followers. Like you don't need that many followers. Like you've heard too, like the accounts that it's like a TikTok account that has 2 million followers and they host an in-person event and no one comes because their followers aren't at all loyal. And then you have the person with 1,000 followers who hosts an event and they have like 100 people show up. Like it's just like stepping away from those vanity metrics and like the thought of what it should be according to whatever industry you're in, and leaning into just who you are. And I love everything you said today. I'm going to listen to this episode like 100 times, but it's such a good reminder and almost permission slip to have fun with your life and your business and not take it so seriously. And when you do that, like it just brings all your people in. Like I think you had a reel that was something like, my Diet Coke brings all the girls to the yard.
Yeah.
Like the Mean Girls, whatever song.
Yes.
I had that written down in my notes today. And I'm like, it's so true. Like it's so simple. But when it's done consistently and like, I guess repetitively, but intentionally, it does do that for you. It does work in that way. And do you have to like Diet Coke to connect with you? No, but it's like this point of familiarity. Like I know what Diet Coke is. Oh, I have my daily drink that I always go to in the afternoon for a pick-me-up. And it's relatable in that way. And everything what you're doing is building relationships. And that's really the core of all of it.
Yeah, you just have to even maybe disassociate so much pressure around what your personal brand is and think of it as the font you use or the color you use. Like it is literally as simple as I use blue in all of my branding or whatever your color is. It's like Diet Coke is just another brand color I have. Reading on my Kindle is just another brand color I have. And so it's like, let's simplify, let's take the pressure off. Let's literally look in front of us because it's here. And then if we feel like, oh, maybe I need to start practicing noticing or elevating a little bit because I do want to become more of a vibe. Okay, so put it in a wine glass, light a candle next to it, find the light coming through the window. Like it's really, none of it is add to cart. Like it's all literally right here.
I want to talk about brand colors quick.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you pick a brand color? How do you know what the colors should be? I think color is so simple too. Like if you're an agent and you're wanting this piece, like I like how you mentioned like Diet Coke is another brand color, but color in general can be so recognizable when you use it consistently. How do you determine like what's going to be the right fit for my color, how do I pick one? There's so many, you know?
Yeah. I mean, as from a client perspective, we do a whole exercise, right, where we dive into Pinterest, but I also really believe that it's already kind of just like everything else I'm saying, it's already kind of existing around you. A long time ago when I first started my business, it was all about aesthetics. It wasn't even about like branding. And I did a talk about this and I was like, literally go shop your closet. Go look in your closet. What are you wearing consistently? Because you're probably buying what makes you feel most confident. And I don't necessarily subscribe to the whole, what is it when they put the colors on you to tell you your like season or whatever?
Like the color matching?
The color matching. I think there's a time
matching?
and place for that, but I don't want you to feel like limited to what somebody said you looked like you were. What do you love and feel good wearing? Like I just started to experiment. I've always liked the color green. My eyes are green, so I've always gravitated towards it. So I have green as a part of it, but I also live in a cabin and I really like orangey warm tones. So I chose orange and green together. And then I have a photo from vacation this summer when I was doing the new, eldest daughter branding. And I looked in my suitcase because I opened up my suitcase and I was like, these feel so pretty together. And it was literally like my highlighter banana colored pajamas, my like periwinkle bathing suit, and so like this orange top. And so anyway, I looked at all these together. I took a picture of them and then I was like, these are my brand colors. This is going to be it. And so it's just figuring out what makes you feel good. What do you open that suitcase or that closet and you're like, oh, that color like just feels so good. Because then at the end of the day, you're probably going to wear it in content. So it's going to be on brand, but it just starts to inform like, what do you have on you constantly? What color bag do you always pick? What is, what your pajamas, or what is it in your life already that could maybe start to inform what your brand colors are, and start to branch out from there.
Talk about the art of noticing. You picked your brand colors because of what was there when you opened your suitcase. That's amazing.
I'm going to have to share that.
I love that. Yes, that's so funny. And perfect. Like you don't need to go searching for it necessarily. And I think like Instagram is a very visual app and you're like constantly seeing a bazillion different combinations of colors. And it's like, one day I want this one day I want that one day I feel like I should be whatever. Like, and you're like all over the board, but it's like, if you can just hone in on like, I like that you said what's in your life already, because that would make content even easier. Like you're going to notice the things that have those colors in them and start to capture that versus always trying to create a new color palette or a new brand color. So if you were a real estate agent, I would love to see like Tori be a real estate agent for a week on Instagram and what you would do. Like, oh my gosh, what would you focus on if you had to say right now, like what would you focus on posting in your feed? Like, cause that's so different than stories, right? And like, I like that you said you only really post like if even once a week, like, which is great. Like it's not about having all this content to put out there because the connections are happening in your stories, but you need something, something in your grid to like live out your brand and to be that place where people can kind of deep dive, learn more. But what would be your go-to pieces of content?
Oh my gosh.
Like I like that you did the mom example of like, here's where you could hide all the clutter,
Yeah. Off the top, I'd probably do a carousel of local coffee shops or local used bookstores. Just because I want to connect with people. I think collaboration is huge. And I think the more you can tag and tap into local businesses, the more connected you'll just be. And you're like providing value for the area in general. Speaking of where can I like hide all the clutter? I'd probably do, let me show you in this house everywhere I would take a Diet Coke break. And so I'd probably have like pouring a Diet Coke in a wine glass, like, oh my gosh, can you just imagine sitting, or like, where would I read my Kindle in this house? And so, next to this beautiful bay window, or look how much room this master bedroom has. I could have a king bed and I would be perfectly next to my like cute lamp and my Kindle and, anyway. So I would probably try to, relate these personal brand things to showing a house. But yeah, I really like the local aspect. I think that's probably something that you teach anyway, about the connection and collaboration through that. And what else in my feed? I keep thinking stories.
I know. Well, stories are so much easier. Not for everyone though. Like sometimes posting feels easier, but I also like what you're answering is basically coming from your stories.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying about your feed, you're like, I'd bring in the Diet Coke. I'd bring in the Kindle. Like you're pairing it. And that's with the brand menu. What we teach is that's exactly what it is. Like, how can you bring it in? You don't need to post like a single post about like, I love Diet Coke, but you're like weaving it into your real estate life. You're weaving it into what you're doing every day and the behind the scenes of your business. That's what where the like magic happens.
Yeah. And even another one came to mind about like, I love gifts after working with people, and I know realtors do too. And so that to me is where personality always starts to shine. And I'm like, I wish that was happening before the end of our work together. Like, I appreciate this and I will remember you for next time. But maybe there's a reel where it's like, let's go shop a local boutique to build client gifts. And it's almost like building that, oh my gosh, I want to be a client. That client gift is amazing. Like, you have a local candle and there's a bottle of wine from the vineyard down the road, or like, what is it? Because that almost starts to show your thoughtfulness and what you would bring as a personality into this. But it's literally approaching the feed like stories on just a little bit of a more tailored way, whether it's a carousel, is like the perfect strategy, honestly.
I always like miss, because I still live in like content of a real estate agent, that I always miss actually doing the selling of the real estate, because it is so fun to do it, especially when you have these like, you know, your brand menu, you have like your direction, and now you want to execute it, and it makes real estate more fun. It makes whatever you're doing more exciting and fun. Like, to go get a coffee at 5 different places and then turn it into a carousel, like what a fun piece of your life. And now you're connecting with the coffee shop owners and, you know, local people that also frequent those coffee shops. It's just such a fun, like, I love local businesses, I think, is the other part to that there's so much you can do in that community oriented sense. Like, it's almost even more so that you need the follower number is not important as an agent in a local community, because you don't need to reach the masses at all on Instagram. You need to reach like a teeny tiny pinprick on a map, basically. And like, through doing these things, it's so easy to make the connections, versus like, I'm going to post like 5 ways to work with me, and here's the areas I serve. Like, they want to share that content a lot of the times, or I see that content. And I guess the only advice you can really give is like kind of what you said, like, here's why this works. Like, maybe try this method. But like, if you were going to choose a real estate agent, would that content that is more heavy in the how to work with me, X, Y, like those types of topics, like, turn you off? Like, what would you say about like?
They're just not memorable. I mean, everyone does that. Mm-hmm. And so I think for us at least, every time I've thought of a realtor, it's always been in almost panic mode. Like, we got a job, we have to move, or it's always been something like that. And I'm not saying that's for everyone. Some people are just shopping around for a different house. But to me, I want to stand out in someone's mind. And I'm going to remember the girl that took a vibey coffee shop video that was reposted by the coffee shop I'm at already and followed, because her content just relates to me. And that, again, so I'm not for every realtor, and every realtor is not for me as an audience. And that's okay. Like, we are meant to connect with the people that are going to appreciate who we are and the content we bring. But if you are seeking, and your audience is people who like the vibey videos, or like the local coffee shops, and like the candles and all of that, then that's the content we need to be like working towards, just because that's the connection point. That's what's going to make you memorable as a realtor, or any industry, whatever you're in. That's going to make you stand out in people's minds, not even the listing of the homes as carousels. Like, I'm not going to even remember that. I feel like, and tell me I'm wrong, but are most people sitting here just like browsing Instagram for realtors? Probably not. They're browsing Instagram for lifestyle content. So that's what we need to connect with them on.
It's like you're the mom who is also a realtor. You're the girl who loves a local coffee shop who is also a realtor. You're going to connect on the coffee shop, the mom, the Diet Coke, the insert any of those things. And then because you're a realtor, they're going to be like, oh yeah, that Tori girl, I love her, and she's a real estate agent. I'm going to call her because, you know, like, that's how it happens more than I'm going to like pump my feed with if you're looking to buy or sell, I can help you. It's going to come through like a
salesy,
the alternate route. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what feels so, I think that word approachable, when your content feels approachable, it's going to make people gravitate towards you more versus like the salesperson that calls you and you like look at the phone and you're like, I'm not answering that. You know, like you don't want to be that agent or that anything on Instagram. You want to be the one where they're like, oh my God, I have to call her because she's going to tell me blah, blah, blah. Okay. I want to talk about websites because you recently designed website templates that are amazing. And I haven't really talked to my community about this yet at all, but the importance of having a website as a real estate agent, almost as this hub of where someone can go to learn about you, that does have your services on there, that does have your, like a way to work with you, that has a free resource that they can learn more about, you know, how to get ready to sell their home or all those little things. Can you talk about your reason, like why a website is so important for a real estate agent to have, to kind of almost be this landing space? Because Instagram is like the cozy vibes and the relationship building, but then where is someone going to go that is custom to you to take the next step?
Yeah, and even think down to like people searching. So I know people search on Zillow, but people are searching like realtor in my area or homes in my area, and having your own website with that SEO to back it up too, you're going to come up above so many other things higher in the rankings because maybe your headlines are like so local specific, your blog posts that are, I'm going to tell you to double them as content. So like doubling your content into blogs is going to be way more successful. Even if it's like, oh my gosh, you did the carousel of like five of the best lattes in Salt Lake City, then how do we put that into a blog post? And then someone's going to find us through that. So it's just like the website, showing your personality, being branded to you, showing who you are. I would sign with someone so much faster if they had a website that felt, you know, elevated, on brand, put together, that was not like this small brokerage has a headshot in the corner. Like I don't know if those still exist, but that's what it reminded me of. It just feels so impersonal. Like, and this is such a personal purchase, and you are literally like their sidekick for the next however many months. I want to know that I trust them. I like them. I do want to know that they're going to take care of me. So have all of that on your website as well. It's also about what you bring to the table as an agent as much as it is about your brand personality. But yeah, I think we're shifting how we are wanting to buy homes. Again, people are playing the long game. They're taking longer to make decisions. And it just, with the economy and things changing, I think you have the opportunity to connect deeper to where you do become that first person that they call because they've thought about it, they've seen you, they've shopped around, and you feel like the most ideal fit.
I think people really want more of a personalized buying experience too. Yeah. And when it's something as huge as buying a house, to see that the agent has their way of doing things that you can kind of learn about on your own, like by looking through the website. And like when you're ready, you're going to be going to the website. When you're connecting, you're going to be on Instagram. I think having a personal website, to me, if I'm hiring someone for that big of an investment, it makes it look like they take their business seriously because I don't know if you know, but it's really easy to get into real estate. It's really hard to succeed in real estate. And I think a lot of people get in and they're like, now what? And it's like, if they just had some like direction around all the topics you just discussed today, and then you have this landing place where someone can take that next step, they can learn more, they can watch a video that you're maybe in, you know, a 60-second video about where you sell, and they have a blog they can read that has local coffee shops. Like, that's marketing. And if I'm listing my home, I really hope you are good at marketing.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think on the seller side. I kept thinking on the buyer side, the seller side. If I want someone to sell my home, heck yes, I want them to be all over Instagram. Like, my sister recently listed her home because they had a job move, and we kept asking her, like, why is your house not still sold? And it is literally, the guy is not doing open houses. He's not listing it on social media. He's not doing anything. And I'm looking at like all these other people showing up for their clients, where it's doing the funny reels or showing, you know, just like the home in general on Instagram in a unique way. And again, unique does not necessarily mean like go crazy, but just like adding your personal touch to it. You've seen the reels where they go viral and it's like, I don't even live in this place, but I would buy this house from you because I like you. Like, have you seen that? It's just like they're connecting, And so it's just from the seller side. Yeah, I want to make sure that you are showing my house to as many people as possible, no matter what that looks like. And if you're good at content, I probably am going to go with you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. There's another girl, she has like a little tiny microphone and she'll go and like whisper into it in different rooms and say things like, this is the room where you're probably going to be scrolling on TikTok for 5 hours straight. Or like it's hilarious,
exactly.
right? Like it's memorable. And I feel like when something, and it doesn't like, also with it being memorable, you don't have to do something extreme either, like we talked about earlier. But when you have a unique spin on how you're showing up for real estate, whether it's bringing the Diet Coke to the house you're showing and, where I'm going to drink my Diet Coke or the Kindle, or it's doing something funny like hide and seek, or, it could be any of those things. It doesn't have to be the funniest. It doesn't have to be like the most viral, but the fact that you're kind of just thinking differently about how you are basically showcasing the lifestyle of these homes, not just the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, that's
going
what makes
that's going back to knowing your client when we talked about writing out what their day is. So that girl who said this is probably where you're going to scroll TikTok for 5 hours knows that her ideal client, she knows who is buying. She knows who's buying from her, and that's who she's trying to connect with. And so that's just like the most perfect example to round that out. But
exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, once you know all of these things about them, are they the mom who needs to hide clutter? Are they the homebody who likes to sit and scroll TikTok? Then what different pieces of content can we bring in? And it doesn't have to be funny. Funny is relatable because it's like, real estate is so dry just inherently and traditionally. So like bringing that new spin on it and making it a fun experience is, I think, where a lot of success will come.
The real estate industry is so dry. And that was like my passion, and like, stop selling real estate. I want to help these people do it better.
Right.
But if you think about real estate, like in a TV sense, like HGTV, Selling Sunset, the millions of shows about real estate are not dry at all, but we like make it dry, and I just don't get it. And like my biggest why behind everything I did was like, we've got to break through this like cookie cutter mold of what the real estate industry is, because it doesn't need to be. And there's so much potential here in so many ways. And then you add Instagram to it, and TikTok and video and personal brands. And it's like, you could be anything you want to be and be a successful agent using these tools.
Yeah. Have you seen, I'm sure you have, on the plane yesterday, it had like the Zillow Gone Wild show pop up. And I was like,
no, I'm not.
So now it's a show. So it was that Instagram account that is still like wildly popular, but now it is a show. And I think it's just like people want to know what the inside of homes look like. But the host is, I forget his name, but he's hilarious. And he's making these like random pieces of commentary on the home the whole time. And so it's just like really, that might be a good example or like inspo to watch too, of just how to make this more fun. But yeah, I think it's time for a shift. It's time for a change for all of us, the buyers, the sellers, and the agents, to just have more fun in real estate.
That's perfect. Perfect way to wrap this up too. I have one more thing I want to bring up, because if I had to describe you in one emoji, it would be the soft pretzel emoji, which is through how you share it. But I want you to just quickly talk about the soft pretzel emoji and kind of wrap all this up. Like we talked branding, the art of noticing, personal brands, like showing up, being memorable, connection points, like all these topics. But like, how do you kind of sum that up with how you show up, working in the margins of motherhood, all the things you do, and still like have balance in your life? And I think that's where your soft pretzel emoji comes in. And I want to hear your take on how that came to be.
Yeah. So it was funny. I was actually on a different podcast interview, and someone asked me about like, how do I balance motherhood and being a CEO and all the things? And what do my days look like? And I was very honest about how sometimes it's chaotic, but my whole goal for every day is for it to just feel like, if I need to take a break because I want to go be with the kids, then I can. If I need to, step into work, then it feels easy. It doesn't feel like full of guilt. And I just want it to feel like this warm, delicious, soft pretzel that just twists together, and no matter where I take a bite, it's delicious. And so it just stuck after I said that, and it became like this huge connection point for a lot of people. They were like, I want my life to feel like that, because my people are moms who are waking up and putting on their mom hat and taking off their mom hat to put on their business hat for an hour, or even in the carpool line, and then putting back their CEO hat on. It's just like we're constantly intertwining both parts of us, and sometimes that can feel really messy and hard, and again, like full of guilt, or guilt on either side. I'm not getting to a client email fast enough, or I'm not spending enough time with my kid in the morning. Whatever side of that is, like, I just want it to feel like really easy and that they can all live harmoniously.
I think that's important for any business owner, especially like moms who are trying to juggle it all. There's a lot of guilt there. And I think if you can just envision it that way and take one bite at a time, like, it all works itself out, and you bring it into how you're showing up, and you make it part of your brand, and it makes everything so much easier, in my opinion, too. It was so good, so helpful. I know people are going to be like following you like crazy from this, and probably popping in your DMs to get a voice memo. But can you tell everyone where they can find you and how they could work with you and learn more about all the things?
Yes, I am mostly on Instagram. And so at Tori Sprankel, we'll put it in the show notes, I'm sure, because my last name is so hard to spell. But Instagram, I love a voice DM. ToriSprankel.com is where I have a lot of services, but also a lot of free value, lots of challenges or templates. I have free Instagram templates as well. If you feel like you need a little more fun and personal brand weaving into your feed, grab those. I would love to connect with all of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was so much fun, and I could talk to you all day, honestly. This is such a fun conversation. So thank you, Tori. I'm so glad we got to hang out today. If you're as sad as I am that our time is up, I've got good news. There are a couple of different ways we can keep the conversation going.
First, follow us on Instagram at Modern Agent Marketing Girls and introduce yourself in the DMs. Also, we always have a free Modern Agent resource available, so check out today's show notes for the goods.
And finally, hang out with other go-to real estate girls like you and finally create a marketing plan that works when you join Modern Agent Social Club. All the details are in today's notes.
XOXO, the Marketing Girls.